Hey there, welcome. Today we're going to dig into something that I think is really misunderstood, and that's the world of antique silver plate. If you've ever been at a flea market, picked up one of those heavy, ornate trays, and thought, is this just a pretty piece of junk or is it something more? Well, you are in exactly the right place. So let's just get right down to it, huh? The big question that's on everybody's mind when they see that little EPNS stamp on the bottom of a piece. Is this stuff worthless? And the short answer is a big, fat, resounding no. But here's the twist, and this is what trips everybody up. Its value has absolutely nothing to do with the price of silver. Okay, let's break this down, because this is really the key to the whole thing. On one hand, you've got what we can call the melt value guardrail. For solid sterling, that's its safety net, right? It's always going to be worth its weight in silver. But for silver plate, that value, it's pretty much zero. But then you look at the other side, the artistic merit. And for the right piece of silver plate, this value can be incredibly high. You're not buying an investment in metal. You're buying a piece of history, a work of art. Now, here's what's so fascinating. Silver plate wasn't just, a budget version of sterling. Not at all. In a lot of ways, it was a huge technological breakthrough that actually gave artists a better, stronger medium to work with. It opened up this whole new canvas for design. And this all kicked off back in the mid-19th century with the invention of electroplating. Think about it, using electricity to bond a super thin layer of pure silver onto a really strong base metal. This process completely, and I mean completely, revolutionized the design world. All of a sudden, things that were just impossible or would have cost a fortune became totally achievable. And here's why it was a better canvas. The base metal, which was usually something called nickel silver, was way harder and more durable than sterling. This meant the silversmiths could really get in there and carve these deep, sharp, crisp engravings, a technique called chasing, without having to worry about the whole piece bending or breaking. It let them build these massive, incredibly ornate things that would have just collapsed under their own weight, or frankly cost as much as a house if they were made from solid silver. But the real magic of these pieces, it goes beyond just how they were made. It's in how they've lived. The age, the use, that's all part of the story. And for someone who really gets it, that's where the soul of the piece starts to show through. And I just love this insight from a master silversmith. See, to a novice, seeing that base metal peeking through on the edges looks like a flaw, right? Like damage. But to an expert, that's called bleeding. And it's not damage, it's proof. It's the warm, coppery soul of the piece showing you that it's been loved and polished by hand for over 100 years. So you gotta remember, especially with older pieces, that bleeding is a feature, not a bug. It's a sign of a life well lived. It tells you the piece is the real deal, that it has an actual history. Honestly, serious collectors will often look for this because it's just this beautiful testament to an item's journey through time. And this, right here, this gets to the heart of it. A lot of these antique plated pieces have details that are way more crisp than modern sterling. And you might ask, why is that? Well, it's because the steel dies they used to stamp the patterns were cut by hand, by absolute masters who spent their entire lives perfecting that one craft. So you're not just buying a layer of metal, you are buying that person's life's work. All right, so now you're sold on the artistry, right? But how do you actually spot a quality piece when you're out there, in the wild, at an antique store, or digging through an estate sale? Let's get tactical for a minute. Here are 4 simple things you can check right on the spot. First, feel the weight. Good Victorian plate has some serious heft to it. If it feels light and kind of tinny, it's probably a modern, cheaper piece. Second, look for that bleed, that little warm glow of copper on the high points and edges. Third, run your fingers over the patterns. They should feel sharp and deep, not blurry or mushy. And finally, flip it over and look for maker's marks, things like EPNS, and keep an eye out for famous names like Elkington or Reed and Barton. So when you put all this together, you start to realize that silver plate has this really unique and, frankly, secure place in the world of antiques. This isn't just some collectible you stick on a shelf. This is art that you can and should actually use. And here's a fascinating thought. When the price of silver goes through the roof, historic sterling pieces actually become liabilities. People start melting down priceless, irreplaceable pieces of history just to make a quick buck. But silver plate, it's totally safe from the smelter. Its value is tied to the art, not the commodity. That makes it a much more stable thing to own, because its value is in what it is. This all connects to a bigger movement that you see happening today. A lot of people are just plain tired of disposable, fast homeware. They're looking for things that have some weight to them, that have a real history, and a kind of tactile honesty that you just don't get from a factory churning stuff out today. An old silver-plated tray has a certain gravity to it. So, the next time you see a piece of old silver plate, don't just ask what it's worth. Ask what it is. Because in the end, it all comes down to a simple choice, doesn't it? Are you looking at the scale, or are you looking at the craft? Because that craft holds a value that's going to last a whole lot longer than any market price.